Welcome back to Getting Real, where founders and leaders pull back the curtain on what it really takes to grow, stay authentic, and stay human. I'm Dan DeShulo, and today I'm joined by Annabel Zhang, CEO of International Elite Capital, or IEC, a firm redefining investor relations for high-growth companies entering the global markets. IEC blends tech, strategy, and storytelling to help founders craft powerful investor narratives from startup to IPO and beyond. From pitch decks and bell ringing at New York Stock Exchange, Annabel and her team build bridges between vision and capital. Annabel, great to have you.
Wow, thank you for having me, Dan. That's a wonderful, wonderful introduction. I cannot do it better.
Well, so tell me, you've built a firm that's as much about story as it is strategy. Where did that vision begin?
Yeah, actually, believe it or not, I started my career as the financial reporter based at New York Stock Exchange. So every day I report the market movements and I follow specific individual companies. So that's how I start my career as a storyteller. And especially when you focus on the stock market, something is seems not so excited, you have to dig out the fun out of it, right? And actually behind the stock market in this like financial general terms are the different companies. So every day when we discuss like the stock movements of this specific company, I'm always curious, like what does this company do? And especially like why their stock going up and down. So it's not just a math problem. Sometimes it's a narrative, business narrative problems, right? So when investors do invest, they not only just focus on their financials, they also focus on where are they heading to. So that's where the business narrative comes in. And because I majored in economics, so I'm not majored in journalism or more like media background. So when I came to that job, I always try to find my economic perspective of that. So later on in my career, once I get to interview more and more company CEOs, I want to really like understand like what is that what's the story behind the company and why they worth the investment. So that's why I start my firm as an investor relations firm. What it differentiates us with other firms is not only we understand their financials, so we can communicate their story in a better terms when we interact with a broader community, such as analysts and also investors. But also we hope to bring their stories like to the surface, and more people need to understand that. And especially nowadays, when people make the investment decisions, it's not only just about data; it's more than the data. Like why they succeed and what's made of their teams and why this team and specific time they can do this thing, right? So there's so many like story like perspective to that. So that's why we bridge the story with capital with their vision. That's just how I get started.
I love that. Was there a moment when you realized that the real gap wasn't funding itself, it was making that connection with the investors?
Yeah, that's like oftentimes because the investors they look at an industry. Sometimes they think they have already seen enough, but actually every company has its own story, and definitely behind that story there's problems and there's advantages and there's things they don't know. Like for example, like recently I'm in touch with a EV company. It's an electrical vehicle company, and the like when I like meet this company, I have some pre-assumptions. I thought that I have already known enough about this company from their like maybe their filings and things like that. But when I sit in front of their like president and talk like why you're doing this, I see that passion and see these solutions to the current problems. And now I understand, okay, there's so much more I don't know. But how do we always change the like how do we always like translate those moments into the actual like external communication with a broader investment community? That's the key and that's the role of the investor relations. So that's why I feel like okay, I see these gaps a lot. So I try to add all those moments into our like work. When we do the investor relations, I make sure that every team members they're working on this client, we talk, we sit with a management team to understand from their perspective, and especially when we throw at them those like hard questions, the Wall Street analysts may be curious. I'm very very excited to hear like what they will share with us, and those are the moments that we fill the gap, and we will be the better translator. between the management team to the broader industry. Yeah.
So what are the most powerful characteristics that you pull from those connections that bring the human part of the story to life, or the that uniqueness? What are the things that you're looking to capture?
I think it's like maybe something that's not on their financial disclosure or their financial results, anything that's beyond the number or beyond the description. Because you know that as a public company, it's a very regulated environment. So the public company, they follow the like basically like very static and also fixed structure to discuss themselves. But there's more than
Mhm.
that, right? So what I'm trying to understand is everything beyond what the analyst can have, so that we know that okay, so maybe we still have to fit into that regulatory like framework and body, but we can definitely bring that maybe the story, and maybe it's more introduction about the company's advantages. So I think it's just that information that's beyond the surface and beyond the standardized reporting.
So IEC supports clients from startup to post IPO. Tell me about what it's like to stay with an organization through every part of the phase.
Yeah. I think the majority of our clients is still public company clients, but they are on the
Mhm.
smaller side. So that's they are like the cornerstone of our business. So when we interact with them, like I think throughout the years, what we're trying to build is really that accessibility to the broader industry, meaning we have to build our own investor database. So that's why throughout the year we build our database, and not just like the contact info or how to what do they do and things like that. We add more information for it. For example, like if this investor is actively investing right now, and what's the dry powder of the company of the investor's capability, and what's their past investment, things like that. So we add a lot of like information to help us to understand that investor. So as we accumulated this investor database throughout the year, we realized that okay, so why don't we expand our service to the other, like the targets, for example, like startups, because we already have their investors. They may be very interested, for example, like VC funds and things like that. So our capability of
Mhm.
serving with serving different types of clients really started with our capability of understanding the investors. Especially nowadays, with the AI, with the data, we can definitely understand investor in a smarter way. So that's how we like expand our reach.
Yeah, it's interesting because it seems like from the outside looking in, a lot of people that are in your business would start sort of from the marketing storytelling side and fall back into the economics, where there's such a strength coming from the economic side and bridging to the storytelling side.
Yeah, especially sorry to interrupt. I wanna add a little bit more to that storytelling side. Because
Uh,
if it's 10 years ago when you talk about the a company, you say that okay, the importance is about telling a story. To be honest, I think a lot of analysts and professional institution investors, they may say, why? Why do we need to understand the company story? Because everything we want is already out there. Like we just log in
it's in
the
the data,
SEC,
yeah.
find it. What is really that story? What make that story differentiated? Because with throughout the year, I think there were two very important trends we need to realize that is happening in the investment community. First is the rise of the retail investors, especially for the large cap companies, public companies. Maybe the retail investors may not play a very strategic role in their investor outreach, because
Mhm.
when they do the investor relations, it's always about like institutional investors. And
Institutions. Yeah.
yeah, and also the earnings call. I want to have the best like Wall Street analysts join and hear our story so they can amplify that like financial like moments of the companies. But now because we've seen this rise of the retail investors, especially for smaller companies, they are important. For example, like for
Mhm.
some of the clients I represent, the retail investors, they consisted of maybe like 80-90% of their investor base. So if you don't know
Wow.
how to translate your story to those like community, then you are not
Mhm.
really doing investor relations at all, and you are not being heard, and your stock will not be noticed. Yeah, so no one is gonna buy you and support you from the capital perspective. So that community of retail investors are very, very important. But when we interact with a retail investor, doesn't mean that they are not professional. Actually, the retail investor, they're very, very professional. But I think when we do the storytelling, I think the story can echo with that community in a more like meaningful way, in a more special way. And because when they invest, they not only invest on the book value, they're also investing on which brand I really like. Do I really
Mhm.
buy their products? Do I really echo or like vibe with their what they're doing? Things like that. So those moments are they are very important. And another trend is actually the Wall Street started to notice that beyond the financial dynamics, there's something behind the company that plays like more important role. So, for example, in the investor community, people say ESG is very important, the environmental, societal governance. So those are the
Mhm.
elements that's not on the traditional like financial terms. So people start to notice that there are things that actually decide the company's fate and affect their financial performances. And those indicators may be okay. So if how good the management teams are, and if they really care about their clients and things like that. So those elements are super, super important. And actually, we host like investor day for public companies like on a yearly basis. But some of the best
Mhm.
investor day are we actually bringing the investors to the companies shops. For example, they're doing the let's say they're doing the electrical like selling vehicle selling things like that. We bring them to the shops and see how they treat their customers, how they decorate their their display room and things like that. Do they really echo with their brand value? So there's a lot of those things. It's more about the
Yeah.
story than the other reporting.
Okay, so I'm really interested because you're talking sort of the convergence of data and the brand and what makes everything unique. So you call your clients stories we believe in. What makes the story worth believing? Are there key critical elements? Every story is unique, but are there key fundamental pieces that need to be there on both sides?
I think it's authenticity.
Hmm.
Because well, we actually conduct a survey with the investors, just asking them like, what do you expect us to do as investor relations? So investor relations always seen as that bridge between the company and also the investors. So we help translate the companies like uh, operation and things like that. So we conduct this survey with the investors and asking them, so what do you expect from us? And there's a lot of answer. For example, we want you to address not only your advantages but also your disadvantages and to see if there's any solutions behind that. And for example, we need information that's not only just good, we also need negative information, but you admit those and tell us what you're gonna do with it. So there's a lot of like different perspective and insights. But if I want to translate them into one word, I think that is authenticity. As long as they are the important for the company in their current stage, and you see those things, and it's better for you to communicate frankly and transparently with your investors. And I know that in this world we have a lot of templates, so we want to
Hmm.
always translate, okay, so to do something successfully, what elements should we add? So we often has those like templates we try to fit the clients in. That's actually some other like competitors investor relations firm will do. But what I really try to nurture, or what I really try to achieve with my company, is we really find that authenticity in the company and what their true story. And if there's challenges, okay, do you have a solution? Because your investor will ask the same thing. So if you don't tell me now, and you have to, you know, being asked by your investors, you have to address them someday. So it's better for us to sit down and face those questions, and we figure it out. So in that way, maybe it's earlier, and you can even, develop some strategy about it and do it in a smarter way and in an earlier way, right? So in a preventive way. So that's what I feel is the most important.
And what part of the process, you've prepped teams for IPOs and beyond, what part of the investor readiness process do people most overlook?
I will say that, to be honest, the answer may be a little disappointing, but I feel like most of the companies, when they go public, they are not as prepared in terms of the
Mhm.
investor readiness. Because what we will do is we will definitely help the company draft their pitch deck, the materials they will rely on to communicate with investors, right? And so we will also do sometimes we will do the interview mock just to prepare them. Okay, this is a roadshow, or this is an interview with the potential media, and what you will do. We throw at different hard questions at them and get them prepared. Eventually, I feel like most of the companies, they still fall short of preparation. It's just because sometimes they're too excited about the IPO and they didn't realize
Uh-huh.
that's only a start. Yeah, because a lot of founders have worked their like whole life towards that moment,
Uh-huh.
so they think, okay, this is the moment I really make it. But they didn't realize that's only another beginning. And the investors' challenges, they're gonna be more, to be honest, because once you get public, that transparency you're required, those like challenges you are faced, yeah. So those things are just beyond their imagination. And so that's why, like after they go IPO, we always keep them on track and help them understand what's the concerns and what are the investors looking and why they are happy or they're not happy. Yeah, but yeah, the result is I don't think they will ever be ready, just because IPO is really just a start.
I'm kind of laughing here because I could picture a lot of founders or executives having the conversation with investor relations and thinking, oh, I'm talking to a marketing person, and you're sitting there like, there are things you need to do to get your business to a better place.
Yeah,
And you can see where those shortfalls are from the other side of the table, right?
yeah, exactly. Actually, I'm not surprised you say that, because that's often the thing that we're facing. Because sometimes the CEO even asks us, why it's you who are doing the investigations. Why can't we just hire a PR specialist to do everything? Why can't we? And also our role sometimes is a little, it's not an easy role, because we represent the company, yes, but we also like represent the investors, because we have to translate those hard questions and throw at the management team. And no one likes hard questions, right? Especially when it's about
Mhm.
questioning about their decisions, things like that. So it can be very, very hard. But as long as they understand who are we dealing with, like we are representing the company to communicate with the investors. So if they value that relationship, and if they want
Uh-huh.
them to look professional, and if they want to
Mhm.
benefit from that relationship, and they need to make some adjustments.
Yeah, I totally get it because they're looking at it from the standpoint of sort of a one way. You're communicating on our behalf, but communication's a two-way street, right? And so there's just a lot of the issues that you would have to deal with that they're not thinking about, right? They're just thinking about sort of outbound, right?
Yeah, yeah, especially the investors, because they always have our contact. Because investor relations, you have to make your contact available, and you need to address them questions. So we see the angry investors all the time, and of course, like very happy investors. From our perspective, they are equally important, because the most important thing is understand why they're angry and why they're happy,
Mhm.
and if there's anything we can do, like if they're happy, okay, maybe we are on the right track, and the company is on the right direction. And if so, what are they? And those are all the very important insights for the management team to understand.
Yeah, it looks glamorous from the outside, the billboards and the listings, but what's the part about the work that nobody sees?
Actually, I have a question for you. So when you think about
Yeah.
the investor relations, so what do you think we do?
Well, I'm thinking about it from the standpoint of you're essentially the conjoint between the business that you're representing and the investors themselves. So the investors are coming to you asking basically as an intermediary of sorts, but
Mhm.
also I would imagine that you're spending a lot of time promoting and building up the investor desire to.
Yeah, and another question for you is, because for public companies, a lot of the informations are already out there, transparent, and
Uh,
as investor relations, we cannot disclose anything material and not public. So if so, why don't those investors always go to the website to search? Why do they need us? What do you think?
Well, and I think it's like anything. It's like you can install a chatbot on a website, and that will answer so many of your questions. But it's beyond just the FAQ. It is capturing the essence of what the organization is and really being a representative or an extension of the company itself, right?
Exactly. So that's what takes most of our time. So we need to
Mhm.
understand the client company in a deeper way. So sometimes we need to have the same knowledge about the company just as much as the management team will do. And remember, because those companies, they're from different industries. So meaning that we have to have this capability that we can cut through any industry and develop certain like depth of the understanding about that industry in a very smart, efficient way. And not only just that, so when we do the external communication, everything has to be concentrated because we have very limited time. And nowadays, the attention span of that investor is very limited. So how do we organize all those information in a smart way and present it either on the website or either through our verbal communication or either through the conference or things like that? So I think that that is the key. And especially nowadays, people don't want to sit down and listen to you say things that's so obvious. So you have to do your work. And yeah, so when it comes to the insights, expertise, really understanding about industry, there's a lot of work can be done.
So I know now, I can feel the energy coming through the podcast here.
Mhm.
Your job is to know your client better than they know themselves.
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
Yes, yes, fair to say. Because in my culture, there's a old point saying that if you are the insider, sometimes you get lost. So even if you think you know a lot, but because you're insiders, so you're likely to block by your being an insider that fact. So sometimes it's easier for an outsider to tell you what is going on and what can be fixed and what you are doing is right. So we're actually that role. So because we don't have that insider mindset, so we're not overly like believing it. So we still have that doubt in my mind, but we also have the we also certain like expertise, so we can do it professionally to tell you that okay, what is right and wrong. So yeah, so definitely we need to understand the client in a level that maybe they don't.
So one thing that I'm interested in, you guide founders through IPO days. What's it like going through a high day and going through a low day? Like what's it like behind the scenes when things don't necessarily go as expected or when they go better than expected? How does that?
Yeah, like one of the memorable IPO I've been through was the Alibaba one, because they went public on the New York Stock Exchange, and I've
Yeah.
been working on the floor for many years. And one thing I noticed that day is the first pricing, the first price they really come out that took a long time. That took maybe 2-3 hours. So the because for IPO day, the thing is we will not have the first price until we reach the settlement between the buyers and sellers. But the competitiveness of the stock is just so high and people really want the stock. So they keep like negotiating in the market and finally they reach that agreement and takes like 2-3 hours. So the whole like trading floor, we have maybe around 100, 200 people just waiting. And we're all discussing because we don't know that the first price, when will it come out? It comes out a very good price. So that's a very exciting moment. But we also have some like challenging times. So for example, if the IPO, the first price is not as ideal, and yeah, and it's even like lower than what they're aiming for, so that's a very bad moment. But regardless, what we're trying to tell the company team is this is not gonna last because this is just one day of your many 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 trading days, so you don't have to really focus on this moment too much because the next trading day is just 24 hours away.
Yeah, that's cool. I think back just based on the brief background that you've provided, you must have experienced some amazing days and some wild with just market volatility over time. You've experienced the ups and the downs. When you think about your experience at large, what's a moment that makes you smile and what's a moment that makes you cringe? Can you tell me a couple interesting stories just based on your varied background?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of like good memories, and even though there are challenges, but if I look back, I still find they are very interesting. Like for example, in early of my career, I have this client. So they just went public. The company CEO wants to know every day like what is going on with the stock. So every day after the 4 p.m. when the stock closed, I always receive his call and he always asks me why the price is like this today. Either it's go up or go down. every single day. So you never experience like a company CEO so obsessed with the stock price on the daily basis. Because sometimes there's no reason. After a
Mm,
while, after picking that calls, like for because we cooperate with for a long time, so you can imagine how many calls I pick up from him. I should try to charge based on the hourly rate, not on the monthly rate, by the way. Yeah.
yeah.
So at that moment, I feel like I'm like a shrink, like the psychologist, because it's almost about like a mental massaging, like telling you that everything will be fine. Don't focus on the short term volatility. It's more about your long term vision and execution, things like that. But when I pick up that call every day, I have to persuade myself that, okay, there's some professional things I can bring to this call, but it's definitely not always. Yeah. So that's the one moment I feel like the CEO, they're so obsessed with a stock. And sometimes my job can be multifunction. Sometimes even the psychologist.
Yeah, therapist.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, therapist.
good. You've worked with startups and giants alike. What truth about investor relationships will never change?
The valuation. Yeah, definitely the valuation because it's about money. So yeah, because it's always about money, right? Because you are dealing with
Mhm.
investors, so who are you talking to? But sometimes when I talk to the company, they are so because the I think the CEO, the reason why they're CEO is because they really believe in their vision. So they have a lot of passion to tell you about that story. But another thing you have to always remember is it's about the valuation. So everything you did, for example, using the approach of storytelling and or the other approach you adopt, it's all about making your valuation make sense. Whether you think
Mhm.
you are overly like valued or like undervalued, things like that, it's always about valuation. You still need to do the money talk. So a lot of company
Mhm.
think, oh, when I do the storytelling, I can just feel focus on the vision, like where we are heading, and just describe the beautiful, beautiful future we're gonna reach. But don't never forget that who are you write this journey with? They are the investor. They care about the money and they care about the payback and they care about the return. So it's always about valuation. So whatever you do, don't forget that. Yeah, that's just my 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 reminder.
That's great. The story can be as good as you can make it, but if there's no valuation, then it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, because if it's just about the story, you can maybe there's other jobs for you, but this is the relationship with the investor. So in core, it's about valuation. It's about like if you reach agreement in this valuation.
Yeah, you've talked about this a little bit just in terms of mitigating relations when things are not looking pretty, but IEC aligns story, numbers, and values. How do you stay aligned when the market pulls you in every direction?
Mm, because you the market may performs differently. They may have the cycle, and that's the nature of the market. It goes up and down, and all because of that disagreement, right? Disagreement about the pricing, about what is going on. A lot of that interpretation. But as business, there's one thing you have to understand that even if you don't have the external support from your investors, from your like external environment. So what's the business you are doing? And you still have to always go back to the business basics and see like what can make you sustain. So once you are focusing on the operation, on the business, like actual like execution and building your moat, like regardless what it is, and I think that's the safe spot for you to battle with different cycles and the markets. And also, we need to understand the essence of the US stock market is we are so lucky in the US capital market because we have different risk appetites, investors out there, and we have different preferences and we have seekers, we have the people who are looking for the things that's undervalued every day. So there's so many of them that diversity is just one of a kind in the whole like world. So because of those
Mhm.
like smart minds, so as long as you are doing your business, great execution, and you have your moat, and you have the advantages, and you have a reason to why they should trust you, and then we will find the voice that's definitely feel the same as you do about your business.
Okay, I like that. Put on your mentor hat here for a second. Picture you're sitting across the table from your 20-year-old self, and you're thinking about all that you've learned and your entire journey. What things would you say to that person?
Never look back. Yeah, never look back.
Never look back.
Yes, like because to be honest, I don't like my 20 year old that much because people always say like youth is so good that when you have 20 you have the whole world. No, actually your feet are kind of like trapped. You are trapped by yourself because at the moment you don't have the, you never really go there. Maybe you didn't even make that many decisions on your behalf. For example, like for my, when I was 20, I was told to do a lot of things that seems very obvious. For example, going to the college, finish your college, find a job, maybe pursue like a graduate degree, things like that. So those things very obvious. So you didn't really got to make your own decisions. But only after 20, between that 20 and 30, and you start to make more decisions that's not so obvious. And those decisions will shape you. So either if it's a good way or bad way, because we done stupid things, but those stupid things shape you as well. But the point is always move forward. So whatever is success, whatever is the challenges or setbacks, don't look back because you are who you are and your future is ahead of you. You have what you got to do, your lesson need to learn. So always embrace those.
Your background is it's so interesting, sort of coming from economics, being a reporter, and then taking all of that. I guess the thing that I'm interested in, because like I'm sitting across from you and I see this courageous, ambitious person, right? Talk me through like the transition that you had to get to in terms of your self-belief and confidence, and like that point where you're like, I know enough to be dangerous. I see this opportunity and I'm going for it. Because that's a leap of faith. Can you talk to me about what it was like at that moment where you're like, this is it? Did you just become it, or was there a moment where you were like, this is the move I need to make?
Hmm. That's a great question. And to be honest, I still don't feel like I'm very confident in myself. Believe it or not, I face like self doubts like many times. And even nowadays, like every day, I doubt myself. Can I really like pull it off? Can I really do this? It's just like that. But if I look back in my career, there's many moments that just seem very hard and challenging now. But when I was in that moment, I didn't feel it hard. Like for example, when I was still a reporter, because you were the face of the TV, so many people will ask you to do favor. And some of the company they just came to me and say that, okay, Annabelle, and I feel like you are resourceful. So can you introduce me, for example, like the maybe set a meeting between my company and the BlackRock and things like that. They are, of course,
Mm-hmm.
they are very good, like Asian asset managers, but that's the thing I never did. And especially for the Asian asset managers, so even they are a big name, but in the US, they don't have that brand awareness. So when I see something like that, I say, okay, I can try, and I just try my best. And in the end, we end up like sitting in the CTO's office of BlackRock, and I really had a meeting with them. But at that moment, when I say that, okay, I can give it a try, I never self doubt even once because I feel like okay, there's some value I can find between their about their meeting, and if I can convey that value in a good way, and maybe they will say yes, and it really say yes. So those are the moments I don't even need to self doubt and I just go for it. And also when I quit my reporter job and decided to do investor relations, is remember there's no one teach me how to do the investor relations. I just figure it out myself, and I'm a very good self learner. So I try to study the other public companies and all things like that. And also because my major, I took the CFA and I took all the license needed. So I understand the regulatory elements. I all this well, all this years I added those pieces together. And when I quit my reporter like job, I didn't even think of that. It's just so obvious. But nowadays when I was in when I make the decisions for my entity every day, and for example, like the challenge of the AI, what should we do next, and things like that, I still face the self doubt. But I always try to assure myself that okay, there's something in you that you need to do it. And especially when you are creating value for your clients, for that community, and yeah, just go for it. So I think it's
Okay, so
yeah.
I love this. We've learned valuation is everything and creating value, but what is the essence of what's inside of you that helps to connect the dots when maybe it's not just so straightforward on paper?
I think it's really that entrepreneurship like spirit in my mind, because I've seen a
Hmm.
lot of like companies, and I see good companies, I see bad companies, and I feel like if I have a vision for things I want to do, who is going to create that vision for me? Am I is easy for me to join a company, or is easier for me to just create it my own? Because I have this vision in my mind and I have things I want to do, especially I have the values I uphold. So I want to do it on my own. So that's just I want to do it on my own.
I love it. Okay. Looking ahead 6 to 12 months, what are the things that you want to accomplish most for your business? And what are the biggest challenges that stand in your way?
Actually, we have very exciting like product lineup.
Hmm.
As I said, because throughout these years, we have building this database to understand investor better. So we are creating a platform that can connect the company with the right investors, the perfect investors, like matchmaking for them. So that's the product we're gonna launch in early November. So that's the thing that
Hmm.
I'm very excited about. And also, still very like many challenges. For example, like how to make this product like more tailored to the public company scenario and also to the startup and things like that. There's definitely a lot more, but we are on our way.
That sounds like something that should have been invented 20 years ago, a platform that connects like the right investor to the right investment, right?
Yes, yes,
So that's a big idea. Um,
yeah. We are
Based
aggressive, we're
on
ambitious.
data from the mind of a economist, you know.
Yeah, I try to really interpret my expertise into this product.
Yeah, I mean, you're very humble because you're a CFA financial ninja, and then also an entrepreneur, and also like you understand more than most people in most rooms that you're in because you're able to connect all these dots through just
Thank you.
like continuous learning and continuous going. So, very cool. After helping others tell their stories, what have you learned about your own, and what does success look like for you now versus say earlier in your career when you started?
I think when you're younger, you have very big ambitious dream. For example, like oh, if I don't join a big company, that maybe not seem like successful, things like that. So you always have those things. But actually, in my current role, I feel like if there's a client telling me that you did a very good job. This just professional. Even those like compliments or comments for me are very important. I just value that professionalism. So if my client saying that professional, and there's no more word I can ask for from any of it. And that's what makes me like wake up every day.
On a larger scale, it's very good philosophy because it's just like if you can just count the small wins, you can be happy every day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you.
You spend your career amplifying others. When was the last time you reflected on your own story and sort of how far you've come?
It's very interesting. It's always through the reaction of other people hearing my stories and asking me questions. And sometimes they say, "Wow, that's impressive," and I just realized that's impressive. But actually, I never do that. Oh, think about what I have done and feel impressive. That's just not me. It's really like often through other people's reaction. But those are the very like fulfilling moments I have to say.
Yeah, from my seat, it seems like if I could give you a compliment, it seems
Mhm.
like your persistence, your humility, and this like burning desire that you've cultivated over time just to connect the dots and find the value and keep helping people. It seems like it's just part of who you are, and this is the culmination of that.
Oh, wow. That's such a great compliment. I love that. Thank you so much, Dan.
Yeah, no problem. What does balance look like for you as a CEO, a storyteller, and as a person? What are the things that you do to sort of keep everything even keel?
First, don't try to chase the balance because I yeah, just for just a reference, I'm a newborn's mom. Yeah, my baby is just, yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you so much. My baby is 9 months. So you can you can ask any newborn parents if there's any balance. There's I'm tired. What is balance, right? So just don't chase the balance. Chase the something you feel happy about every day. Maybe just one little thing. That's more than enough. Feel like every day has to be under control. There's no such things. You lose control on a lot of fronts, either on your family and sometimes your business. It's okay. Just find that little happy thing, make you feel wake up is so good. That's more than enough.
I love that. Don't look back and don't chase the balance.
Yeah, sometimes it's a little sometimes even losing control can be exciting, right? Like because when you lose control, that instinct of you, like really, especially that instinct of survival will comes up to the surface, and maybe you're stronger than you thought. Yeah, so for example, like
Mhm.
dealing with a newborn, definitely one of the things I feel like I lose control because your time is just chopped. So you don't have like a time to focus on something for like 2 hours. Nothing gonna happen. But you just realize that wow, I can be so flexible and I can be so multifunctional. And even I don't sleep like 8 9 hours straight, but I can still function as a as efficient as before. So those moments are just make you realize that how much potential you have.
So, talk me through the last 9 months of balancing being a mother and the CEO. What have you learned about yourself, and what's that been like? Just trying to wear all the hats and do all the things.
Yeah. So first you have to have a good supporting system. So that's that no one is on for mom like me, I'm not on my own. So when you see me as a person, actually you see a whole like supporting system behind me. That includes my husband, includes my parents, my in-law, and also my nannies, a lot of my friends, and a lot of like supporting, like really give it to you. So first you have to have a supporting system, and without them I cannot do anything. Another thing is I think that you were driven by something, and especially when you are a mom, because I have a daughter, and I feel like being that mom role in my daughter's like life not only just mean that you provide them with good food and things like that. It's more about like you have to show them as a girl in nowadays you have your options and you can make your own decisions. So because I want to show her that I can make my own decisions and I have a lot of options, so that takes a lot of hard work. So that's why like my due date is January 13th, and actually I have a client IPO on January 3rd. I still show up in that IPO, and my clients are almost in tears because they feel like, wow, you make it. That's impressive. The really the drive behind me is as long I'm safe, of course, that's the bottom line. As long I'm safe, I feel okay physically, and I want to do my work because that gives me the option and make me feel like I can make my own decisions. That's very very important. And I also want to show my girl that mom has her own like passion, and yeah, she can have her own in the future too.
Yeah, that's great. So, what are the things that you do on a regular basis, habits or routines that just they're if you didn't have them, the whole thing wouldn't run? Are there certain cornerstone parts of your routine that are non-negotiable?
Yeah, I love yoga and tennis, and
Hmm.
I feel yoga is definitely uh one of my like routine activities that makes me feel peace. Because for
Hmm.
yoga, there's some like philosophy behind it. They're very very good. For example, the yoga will tell you that don't compete with other people. Just focus on yourself. Because you are practicing yoga, you are always wondering why can I do that most challenging like position even after 2 3 years. It's okay. Just as long as you are in the room and do your thing and don't compete with anybody, just focus on yourself and you are being a good yogi. And also, like the teacher will tell you, I ask you to do certain things, but even if you don't do it and follow your heart, it's okay. So that's also another thing. So if I don't do things, that I well asked to, but I follow my heart, that's okay as well. So don't compete with other people. Just focus on yourself. Do the things that makes you feel comfortable. So those are the things. And tennis is like another thing I discovered over these years. I love a lot because tennis is about like going out, like let the energy out. Yeah, there's some very interesting part about that. Just makes me feel like I release some of that negativities throughout me. So I love these two things.
Great. Well, it sounds like you've read a ton of books and you've passed all the tests that you've been challenged with in your life. What are a couple of books that stick out to you as must-read material?
To be honest, I read a lot of things, but it's all like it's I never look for something. I need to read, right? So for example, if some people say, "Oh, this is the must read for the on the New York Times," and I have to read that, that's not my go-to. Sometimes I like just
Uh,
to yeah. Sometimes I like to go to the like very just whatever like echoes with me at that time, even it's a article or a book. And to be honest, like my favorite book or the book I read most will even doesn't sound that like exciting or like professional is Harry Potter. It's just like throughout these years, every time I read Harry Potter, I can think of something new, like inspire my life. Like for example, like Dumbledore once said, "Is who is what your decision that shape you." That makes me feel like, oh wow, really something like that. So even it's a considered as a children's book, but once I read it all throughout the years, I feel like I'm inspired in a new way. So I'm not going to act like very smart. Yeah, I did read a lot of like professional stuff, but my favorite is still Harry Potter.
and and Annabelle, the show's called Getting Real. What does getting real mean to you in business and in life?
Yeah, I think this can be understood as getting real, and also I think just be real, like be real to your business and be real to yourself. Because people always say, "Oh, I chase that success," so there's several things can lead me to there, and I do it. So they just want to chase the hype, but actually those things are not in your expertise or in your like personalities. They're not in you. Maybe those things are not what you should do. Like for example, like in my generation, a lot of people do they pursue financial degree, MBA, because those job those majors can help them land the best job, like highest paid jobs. But I feel like throughout the years, you will always questioning yourself if you don't choose the path that you like you really like Apple with. So I think it's just be real to yourself and listen to your inner voice and don't just chase the hype.
Don't chase the hype. Don't look back. Don't chase balance. A lot of lessons learned today.
Really? I feel it's like a lot of no, but actually behind those no, there's a lot of go. Like go for your things.
I love it. You should coin that phrase. Behind the no, there's a lot of go.
Yeah, behind no, there's a lot of go.
Well, everybody, that's Annabelle, CEO of International Elite Capital. Where can people, if they want to find you, is there you have your website, social media? Where do you
Yeah,
point people?
they can connect me on the LinkedIn. I think that's the best place.
Great. We'll have all of the links in the show notes. Annabelle's redefining investor relations with a balance of economics and storytelling, and really just a one of a kind person that I have really enjoyed getting to know today. So
Thank you.
thank you so much for the time. If this episode spoke to you, please share it with a founder or an investor who believes in capital and authenticity. And until next time, thanks for getting real.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Dan. Thank you. I had a great time.